Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, October 15th to Saturday, October 21st. Okay, so last week was a lot of adjustment, if I do say so myself. We, of course, kicked off the week with Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, clearing her post-retrograde shadow period that she's been in for many, many moons at this point. And it just so happened that she cleared that retrograde shadow period as she moved into Virgo energy. This took place on the 8th. There was a lot of heart activations. We definitely gained a lot more clarity on what our heart was asking us to do and pursue. We became a little bit more focused on the smaller details that we actually had control of in our physical realms to readjust, redesign, restructure, if you will, a better foundation for us to be living in, where we're feeling safer and secure, where we're more focused on creating happiness, joy, and pleasure, and where we're really starting to understand this new worth, this new value within ourselves. And because of that, where it is that we have to do a better job of taking care of ourselves. We're still very much in that energy. It's kind of taking a back burner seat at this particular point because we are kind of in the swirling, if you will, of this eclipse season. We'll get to that in just a second. But of course, just a couple of days after Venus moved into Virgo energy, Pluto, the great transformer himself, went direct. Now, he went direct at 27 degrees in Capricorn energy. This happened on the 10th. We definitely probably felt the subtle energies kind of building us up, feeling like the ball was about to drop, like the shoe was about to drop, so to speak. We can feel that something is growing, something is really building towards a major change and a major transformation. Of course, we still have a little bit of this cha-cha-cha dance to do with Pluto in this Capricorn energy as we move into 2024. We will kind of see Pluto move back into Aquarius energy, go retrograde again, creep back into the Capricorn energy, and sit at the critical crisis degree of the 29th degree for a very, very long time. Until, of course, we re-enter that Aquarian energy November of 2024, and that's where we will set up until 2040. So we're definitely feeling the adjustments, if you will, the major change in our mood and our attitude. We're bossing up. We're feeling a little bit more in control, or wanting to take our control back, should I say. Overall, there's an empowerment energy that definitely shifted with when Pluto decided to shift out of his retrograde and, of course, go direct. Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, took up his powerful placement, his rulership in Scorpio energy. This took place yesterday. If you're listening to me, Friday the 13th, it took place on the 12th. Now, we're still kind of adjusting to this particular energy, and I kind of feel bad for Mr. Mars because, of course, he wants to just dive in, jump in, take action, make moves. It's not recommended that we do that in eclipse season. This is more about kind of standing back and observing the craziness that is about to take place as karma sorts us out in some big ways. However, the emotional depth that we are now reaching to identify new passions, new desires, new things that we absolutely need to go after and pursue, that is where the major change of energy is taking place. Now, if you have Scorpio placements or Aries placements, you likely would have felt that jitteriness, that buildup, if you will, Wednesday into Thursday. There was a sudden burst of energy, and then all of a sudden we were exhausted again. Now, just a reminder, we're still in Libra season, which means that we're still living in extremes. Mars came out with this brand new burst of energy, and then all of a sudden that Libra season got to us, and we were like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't, take over the world in one night. Maybe we should rest. Now, one of the downsides of Mars is that, typically speaking, he goes in too much, too fast, bites off way more than he can chew. And the downside is that oftentimes, if we're not careful with our energy management, we will burn ourselves out long before we accomplish anything on our to-do list. So especially in Scorpio energy, this is extreme sorting out and processing of our inner realm, especially where the shadow parts of us need to come out and play, where it is that we have to make a major change and transformation in our physical lives. Mars is going to give us the energy, the direction, the focus to do just that. But again, we're kind of being blinded by this eclipse energy. And of course, as I come to you here on Friday the 13th, we are in a very, very powerful energy because, of course, Fridays are ruled over by Venus, and the 13th is, of course, very connected to the ancestral power of the divine feminine energy. If you think that Friday the 13th is a unlucky day or a nervous day, if you will, then congratulations, you have definitely been mind tainted, if you will, to demonize the power that Friday the 13th actually holds. It connects us to the moon cycle, which of course the divine feminine energy is all about. It is a day where we are definitely receiving a lot of positive vibes, positive energies, positive insights. And the fact that it is happening right before this very significant eclipse should speak volumes. Of course, the new moon solar eclipse taking place in Libran energy is still yet to take place, as I'm coming to you here Friday evening. We have that taking place tomorrow afternoon, Saturday, October 14th. So, of course, there is a lot of chat about eclipse energies and expecting the unexpected and being at the mercy of the cosmos. It is very important that you understand where this is taking place in your own individual chart to understand the influence and impact of the life lessons that you will be learning over the course of this next year, where all the nodes of the moon, all the eclipse events are going to be on this Aries and Libran axis. There is a lot of content out there. Of course, there's an astro forecast out there for that. There is a moon guide, of course. There is the October zodiac forecast that you can download in order to figure out where this is taking place in your chart. There's all kinds of information out there. So do yourself the best thing that you can do, which is stay ahead of the energies. So what do we got going on this week, you may ask? Well, we are officially in this eclipse window, and the eclipse window is a swirling of energies. Feels like we're in a snow globe. Somebody picked us up, shook us, put us back on the cosmic shelf to see where the snow is going to fall. This is a time where we have to expect the unexpected, where we have to be open and aware of the hints and the clues that are coming our way. It is definitely having a major impact on world events, on our individual events and circumstances, and we really are going to be in for a bumpy ride. We're really not going to understand the impact and the influence of this eclipse season until it's A, well over, and B, it can take up to 6 months in order for this particular energy to manifest in your life. So it's a very interesting time that we are in this calendar, in this awakening process. And of course, we have to just be open-minded to understand that we are not in control at this moment, that we are under the divine script of what needs to play out in order to get the collective to where it is that we need to be. Now, this is going to be a quote-unquote calm week. I say that with a lot of laughter and hesitancy because, of course, we're in eclipse season, so it's not quiet, it's not calm. However, there's no major planetary action taking place this week. This is actually the last week that Mercury will be in Libran energy, so we're all going to be very thankful for that particular transit to come to an end, to come to a close, likely because we're tired of weighing the pros and cons. We're tired of feeling indecisive and uncertain. And this is also the last week that, of course, we're going to be in Libra season, which, you know, we have to appreciate Libra season because it is opening the doorway from the ego realm into the spiritual realm. We also kind of have to understand that all seasons are important, but Libra season in particular, it does kind of reveal to us where our time, energy, and attention is needed, because we realize in Libra season that everything outside of us is just mirroring back to us what it is that's going on within ourselves, especially where relationship dynamics are concerned, where fairness, where justice is concerned, where peace is concerned. And I'm hoping that y'all can read in between the lines here, but this is a very important time, an important, I'm going to say, window of opportunity to balance the scales and lock into a new karmic path, which of course is going to lead us all into new soul contracts. So we kind of get a little bit of a quote unquote break, but there is no breaks in eclipse season. It is going to be wackadoodle. We do have the first quarter moon popping off in Capricorn energy on the 21st. And so with that kind of in mind, Saturn rules over the Capricorn energy. So there is, again, another layer of karma being activated within this particular eclipse window. So before I jump into the Ascension symptoms and any mini rants that I may actually go on, I just want to take a moment to thank you. I want to thank you so much for being here, for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping the emojis in the comment section. That is super, super, super helping the algorithm. So thank you very much for that. I want to thank you to those of you who have kind of gravitated over to my Patreon, especially those that jumped over this week in order to join in to the Eclipse series. That, again, I know I already previously mentioned, but I think it's super interesting, and we kind of dove into the patterns of this particular karmic axis that we are now experiencing on the Aries and Libran axis. And we just unpacked a lot of information and what that could mean for us as a collective, as individuals. So again, if you have any kind of interest in understanding the eclipse energy at its most potent form, please jump over and take a listen to that particular series. Again, I'm going to be a little bit repetitive here, but I got to do my due diligence because unfortunately likes do not pay the bills. So I do have to kind of push and promo the fact that there is a moon guide out there available for you for this particular new moon solar eclipse event. And again, October's zodiac forecast will reveal to you, according to your sun sign or your rising sign, where this may be taking place in that particular soul mission. If you aren't able to kind of dive into your own birth chart, that's the best way that you can kind of understand how you collectively, as the zodiac sign that you are, is going through this particular transition. And again, as I previously mentioned, the Libra Season e-guide is already out there. And of course, if you downloaded it, you're going to want to flip to this particular event and capture some of the things going on for you. And the last thing that I wanted to say is thank you all so much for snagging all of those booking available appointments on my booking calendar. I am fully booked for the month of October, so thank you very much for that. And for those of you inquiring when new available appointments will be added, you're kind of looking at the end of October for that calendar to be launched for November. So again, the appointments don't last very long. It's available to my Patreon VIPs a couple of days prior to the new month launching so that they can kind of snag the spots that they need to snag, and then it goes public. So here we are mid-month. I thank you so much for booking those appointments out, and unfortunately we are going to have to wait a couple of weeks before my November calendar drops. Okay, so let's jump into the Ascension symptoms. May I just say that eclipse season is really unpredictable, okay? So how the energy is going to manifest in our physical bodies is kind of unpredictable as well. Now, granted, we do have some kind of guidelines on what we can expect for this week, but I just want to take a moment to kind of map the week out for you. So I sit down every Friday in preparation to do, this live chat, these Ascension forecasts. But I sit down and I take a good look at the days of the week. And what's very interesting to me, I'm just going to briefly give you a rundown here. So we have this new moon solar eclipse in Libran energy taking place Saturday, October 14th. What's amazing to me is that Sunday, now we have to expect any time that we have a moon event, there's always this post-lunar hangover. And it can very much replicate and resemble a hangover that you would have from, drugs or alcohol. So we're talking low energy, we're talking nausea, we're talking confusion, we're talking just a state of blahness, okay? So we have to expect that. But an eclipse is a cosmic steroid event. So we have to kind of expect that things are going to be a little bit more intense than normal. Now, Sunday October 15th, the moon is going to be transiting into Scorpio energy. And I know that's not a favorable time for most of the zodiac signs, especially seeing how the moon in Scorpio is a very deep, intense transformation of our selves, of our unconscious selves, of our emotional realm. And it's very, very intense. That's where major change and transformation takes place in our emotional realm, is when the moon is transiting through that Scorpio energy. We have a very quiet day on Sunday. We transition to the Scorpio energy, which I think is very interesting. Another thing that I think is interesting is that, of course, the moon in Scorpio is going to come up, conjunct, sit next to Mars, right? Mars co-rules over the Scorpio energy. Mars is just dipping his toe in this Scorpio energy. So I think that that's an interesting dynamic. Now, granted, it could go one of two ways, or a little bit of both, seeing as we're still in Libra season and we kind of have to experience the extremes of things. We could be truly motivated, truly inspired, truly determined, hell-bent to kind of do what we got to do in our lives in order to make ourselves happy and go after our goals and bring our dreams and our visions to life. We could definitely be fired up in all the right ways. That could be column A. But column B could be that we're angry and we're frustrated and we're in a fit of rage. We've seen over this past week how Mars and Pluto's square at the beginning of the week created a whole flipping of the world tables, if you will, where anger and frustration and aggression is concerned. We've seen that. This is a time where we are kind of unearthing the darker force energies within us. And again, if you're enlightened enough and can use that dark force energy as a fuel to the fire that keeps you kind of lit up and passionate about whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, then great. But the last thing that we want to do is use those darker vibrations and energies to kind of self-destruct, to self-sabotage, or, kind of project that anger, rage, and frustration out into the world. What I love about it is that the sun is going to be interacting with Uranus shortly thereafter. And this is going to be like, I'm going to say, wild card events on top of wild card events. This is a shift, a pivot point in the awakening. This is a shift and a pivot point in understanding and realizations and certain events taking place that, yes, are going to make us feel like we're not in control, because we're not. We're in a window of karmically scripted and divine events. And I just want to piece this together for you here. If you're observing this shit show going on the global stage right now and wondering how that is a divinely scripted event, please understand it is absolutely necessary for this particular part of disclosure. What I dislike about the thing going on the world event right now, and I am going to be very cryptic about it, is that, again, the mass majority of the collective has fallen victim into the division state that these particular events were scripted in order to trigger. Now, when I say the word scripted, please do not come at me thinking that I'm saying that this is all fake. What I'm saying is that this is divinely scripted. This is a very important event that needs to happen for so many different reasons. But what I'm getting at is that if you are picking sides, if you are seeing the division, if you are still stuck in religious, or let's call it cultural or nationality type of division, then you're failing the collective here. We should be at the point of this great awakening where we are observing these events as division tactics purely, okay? And until you get to the fact that you see every single individual on this earth plane, good, bad, or ugly, as humanity, okay? We're not talking about religions. We're not talking about, the past. We're not talking about anything other than the fact that so many people who claim to be awakened at this point are still falling in these division tactics. All this is an emotional event that has been created in order for the energy harvesting that takes place in eclipse season to continue to feed the narrative of the evildoers that need to stay alive. That's as much as I'm going to say about it. Now, this particular, I'm going to say, clash needs to happen. It's happening in Libra season. So again, divinely scripted. It is going to lead us to a certain point of information and details that are going to be I'm going to say, revealed in a way that is going to make it very clear for every human being on earth what this quote unquote war actually is, which is a spiritual war that we've been in for the whole entirety of Earth's existence. And even more recently, this is a war on consciousness. And again, these particular events, the same people that are trying to keep these evil agendas alive, they are operating on both sides, if you will, of this particular conflict. They win both ways. And the more that we continue to play into the division tactic, the division narrative, the more that we see people as the man-made constructs in which we've created instead of just the human race, the longer this particular war, the spiritual war, this war on consciousness is going to continue. Because the people that are claiming that they've awakened, that they live in 5D, that it's just love, that is just unity, are pretty quick to abandon all that and to pick a side, to fight for a particular side. Again, it doesn't matter what we're even talking about. Division is division. The further they divide us, the more fragmented in our power we stand. The only way that we are going to win into this new earth, which is coming a little bit more slowly than it should be at this point because of these particular events, the longer that we prolong being able to see that this is a divinely scripted event in order to create an emotional reaction, which again allows the dark force agenda to remain in power, the longer that that goes on, the longer we're going to sit in this state of deconstruction that has to take place before there's a clean slate for us to start building new earth. So it is no joke when Mars and Pluto squared off at the beginning of the week. That is when this timeline, this narrative, this scripted event unfolded. Now, as we go through it, yeah, I can understand from a 3D earthly perspective, this is a scary thing. There's a lot of fears, a lot of doubts, a lot of insecurities. There's a lot of injustices. There's a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of trauma. I get it. But that's what the earthly experience is all about. We need to rise above that. Okay, we need to rise above it and understand that we collectively have created this situation in the division of which we have been a part of here on the earth plane. We have created situations like this to either A, further divide, or B, further unify. Now, again, not that I want to get ahead of myself here, but 2024 is going to be a major, major, major year. It's going to be the year of 8. It's the major change, a major transformation of the earth plane. And what is currently happening now is setting the tone, setting the vibration, setting the frequency down for this timeline split. We've been talking about this timeline split for God knows how long, depending on where it is that you're at in your awakening, your enlightenment, your healing journey. It's been talked about, okay? The actual split, the division of the old earth versus the new earth, the old debris versus the clean slate that we have to work upon, the consciousness, vibration, and frequency that some people will be locking into permanently, good, bad, or ugly, doesn't matter, will take place throughout the year of 2024. So it's events like these that need to happen in order for us to get our shit together and get right in our awareness, right? This is what 2023 has been all about, which is the year of 7, which is strengthening the relationship with our higher selves so that when shit show circumstances like this take place, that we're not being sucked into the emotional matrix that these particular events have been created in order to harvest the energy off of us that they're currently doing. Again, eclipse season, guys. You know, like it's just, I don't know. I don't know what needs to continue to happen before a lot of people that claim that they're at the particular phase that they understand 5D and unity and love and acceptance and peace and harmony and all that kind of stuff, to actually walk that walk and talk that talk instead of constantly getting dragged back into the constructs that they work so hard to build themselves away from. So again, you know, it's just a disappointment, I would say, at this particular point in time to see event after event, which are divinely scripted, which are, I'm going to say, a page of the old playbook that they've been telling us that they've been doing for absolute years now, constantly trigger this amount of, this amount of people that are of a high vibration and frequency, that are on the right timeline and understanding, dip back into the heavier realms of division. It's very, very frustrating. Anywho, I digress. I was talking about the astrology for the week. I literally only got 2 aspects into Sunday before I went on that particular rant. So, who knows where this particular Ascension forecast is going to go. But I'm going to get back on track here for just a second. Monday, okay, moon day, if you will. The moon is going to be in Scorpio energy, where death, endings, closures need to happen in order for a resurrection, a renewal, a rebirth to take place. This is where transformation, where metamorphosis takes place and happens in this Scorpio energy. We have Jupiter, the planet of growth, making a positive interaction with Saturn, the Lord of Karma. Now I'm going to take you back to 2021, okay, because we had Saturn and Jupiter very close together. They were both kind of moving out of the Capricorn energy. We had that stellium take place in 2020. That's what kicked off the Great Awakening and the shit show taking place on Earth right now. Then in 2021, they were in Aquarius energy and they came together and they ignited, and we've seen a little bit of growth, and then they kind of moved away from each other, and they, were in a tough aspect with each other. And so then we seen 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I often describe it this way, so I'll give you this analogy. Jupiter is the accordion that we pull out when it's at its fullest expansion. Okay, so the sound that the accordion makes when you're pulling out, it's at its fullest expansion. Saturn is restriction. So that's when we're squeezing that air out of the accordion and it's making a totally different vibration, totally different frequency. But what I'm getting at here is that the back and forth, the ebb and flow, the 1 step forward, the 1 step back is absolutely necessary to the process of growth and evolution. And so as Jupiter, they're both retrograde, right? So Jupiter, growth and expansion, retrograde, reflecting back, revising in this Taurus energy of how it is that we even came to create the physical realm in which we're currently standing in. And Saturn, of course, retrograde and Pisces energy is here to dissolve and deconstruct the old world, the old realm, the old constructs of belief that created the shit show in which we're currently living in. You have them coming together in this positive interaction that actually allows us to make a move forward, if you will. And it may not be a conscious move that you're making, because again, we're in eclipse season, so you're at the mercy of the cosmos here. But the collective is making this transition, this growth, this movement forward that may not look like it right now when you're observing the shit show going on the global grander stage here, but it's happening karmically, energetically, spiritually speaking. We're reflecting back. How did we get here? The choices that we made. Oh my goodness, nobody likes to live in this particular pattern. What could we do different? Oh, okay, we came up with an alternative. That's great, but now we have to remove the structures, the foundations of what it is that we've built in order to build fresh. How do we do that? We destroy it. We put an ending, a death to it. This is how new Earth is going to come about. When Saturn and Neptune move into Aries energy in 2025 and then kind of further their little plan in 2026, that is essentially the clean slate that we're working with. Now, granted, we have a lot of things going on outside of that needs to happen before we can get there. But nonetheless, there's a huge, I'm going to say, gentle nudge of change, transformation in the right direction coming at us, being activated on Monday. Again, please do not think that when we talk about these astrology aspects, that when I say that they're happening on a certain day and the day comes and goes and nothing major has happened to you or the collective stage, that you think that it's not working. That's not how it works. It's like opening a safe. And we're just kind of getting that combination. And when these aspects take place, that's when the safe clicks. We haven't opened the door yet. It's a slow opening, if you will, to see what's in that safe, in Pandora's box, so to speak. It takes a little bit of time, especially where these are older planets and they have a slower orbit. It is a little bit of a waiting game to see how this particular energy manifests. Okay, so not that I'm going to spend, too much time talking about the days of the week this week, but just know that Sunday, Monday, super slow, very, very caught up in the eclipse energy, very caught up in the physical symptoms that these energies are going to kind of create. Watch out for Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be a time of misinformation, miscommunication. Everybody's going to be highly irritable, super triggered. Everybody's super hypersensitive, and we're really not communicating and articulating what it is that we actually want to say. It's almost like we're misrepresenting ourselves and our message and our wants, our needs, our desires. So whatever it is that you got to say, try to bite your tongue on it, because it's not going to be well received. You're not even going to say it properly. So how can we expect the other people that we're trying to make understand, how do we expect them to receive our message well when we're not conveying it in the best light? Wednesday, shall I say, there's going to be a major disruption in our relationship dynamics. Our mental focus is going to be all out of whack. We're not communicating properly. We're going to have a change of heart because there's new information coming in. It's really going to put us in a situation where we start questioning ourselves and the people around us and what it is that we're actually doing, what we're working towards, what we're fighting for. Now, Thursday is going to be a major busy day in the cosmos. There's going to be 15 different aspects. That's a lot, especially in comparison to Sunday's energy where there's only 6. You best believe that Thursday is going to be a major, major busy day. It's going to be a time where uncertainty and indecision, it comes to a breaking point where we literally feel like our brains are going to explode. That is also the day that we shift into Capricorn energy where the moon is concerned, which means that we're getting anchored into the present moment. And because Saturn rules over the Capricorn energy, again, we're talking karma, layers and layers and layers of karma being kind of undone, released, let go, brought to an end, just as much as we are initiating and anchoring new karma in. But it's not going to feel good. We're going to feel out of touch, not only within ourselves, but with our intuition. And it never really feels good when we feel like we're being cut off from the higher realms of intelligence. It's a short window of opportunity to kind of, I'm going to say, learn to trust yourself, learn to trust what it is that you've already learned, learn to trust the patience, the observer type of mentality that we need to be in. And then Friday, just things start flowing in so freaking quick that we're not even going to be able to process things. Now, let me just tell you, we're going to be in the final degrees of the Libran energy for both Mercury and the Sun as we're moving into Friday. We have a situation popping off between Mercury and Pluto on Friday, and this is where I'm going to say us as individuals and the collective likely going to take a deep dive in the most negative of circumstances, the negative most of information that we could possibly get into. It's going to be a lot of drama, a lot of mental anxiety. There's going to be a lot of, I'm going to say, power struggles that we're going to feel within ourselves, within our own individual worlds, and again, on the greater, grander stage. This leads us into Saturday, guys. This is the last day of Mercury being in the Libran energy and the Sun being in Libra energy, because we're about to deep dive those two into Scorpio energy. Okay, that's a big deal. Like we're doing things here. Like it's a big deal. And again, Saturday, very late in the day, we are going to have that first quarter moon in Capricorn, which is always I'm going to call it a critical point of action or decision, which is an interesting dynamic, seeing as we're not coming to any decisions very fast in this Libran energy, let alone in eclipse season. So we have to suspect that, again, karma kind of is at the driver's wheel at this point. I would also suspect, because we have the Sun squaring off with Pluto that day, that there is going to be an illumination of the abuse of power and the miscommunications and the misinformation that the majority of humanity has been kind of under. I feel like that's going to be a pivotal point where we understand that trust and truth aren't kind of at the top of the list for many of us, especially on the world stage. And that's going to reveal a different perspective and hopefully reveal where some of us may need that bitch slap of truth and reality in order to realize where it is that we're continuously being played and plotted against each other, illuminating the divide, the division tactics that, of course, the evil agenda is going to continuously have us doing, so that we are not unifying in our power, in our vibration, in our frequency. Instead, further dividing us will mean that we aren't concentrating on the same outcome, right? And that's where the power of this is. Whatever the collective is focused on is what we are asking the universe to create more of. And right now, there's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of injustices, a lot of rage, a lot of trauma that's being focused on. And of course, that is just attracting situations that are going to continue to keep that dark force agenda alive, because that's the energy dilution which they actually feed off of. Secondly, it's going to continue to create a space where we're not able to bring new earth in as fast as we need to, because we continue to further divide ourselves with the man-made constructs that keep us at each other's throats. And that is not okay. We should be way past this level of enlightenment at this point of the ascension process and the healing journey. So we really got to kind of, buck up, if you will, and really kind of boss up and really understand where it is that, we fell for it again. Okay. Shame on us. And now we have to orient our focus, our perspective onto something that is better, a better alternative than the current circumstance in which we're currently living in. And I think we can all agree that none of us would choose this particular timeline, but our higher selves, man, are they going to get an ass kicking when we all kind of cross over into that spiritual realm and give our higher selves a good talking to for thinking that this was the best way for us to reach new levels of enlightenment. But of course, we're not going to have that opportunity anytime soon. We still have a lot of work to do here in this physical realm. So I'm going to stop my little mini rant there for a second. We're going to focus on the changing energies this week and how that's going to impact our physical health. Again, reminder, there's always that, I'm going to say, standardized list of ascension symptoms, which of course is flu or cold-like symptoms, dizziness, itchiness, all of the things that are kind of quote unquote normal, aches and pains, yada, yada, yada. Now, there are going to be some of those that we will focus on because they are going to receive a lot more electricity, a lot more potency this week, that are definitely going to take those normal set of ascension symptoms into a overload. But again, we're in eclipse season, so we have to expect that things are going to be intensified. But I want to start talking about itchiness. Now, we've been talking about itchiness. We know that itchiness is a sign of healing. Now, there's a lot of itchiness going on in our head, in our scalp region, if you will. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but as we're moving through eclipse season, I feel the need to talk about it again, because we are opening up our crown chakras, which connects us. That's the web of connection that we're all kind of, tapping into. That's how we're able to talk to our higher selves. That's how we're able to, pick up on the collective's energy, if you will. There's been a lot of itchiness in the scalp area, in our hair, the changing of oils in our hair, because the hair is the antenna that picks up on the electricity, the subtle energies out in our environment that transmute the vibration and the frequency the collective is currently in. Because we are receiving a whole lot of information, because we are transmuting the fear-based narrative and energy and emotion that is currently very alive and well in the collective as of right now, there's a lot of focus on the headspace. So the itchiness is likely to continue. The hair hurting is likely to continue. The change in oils. So what do I say? So I am typically someone who has an oily complexion. My hair is oily. My face is normally oily. Well, right now I'm in a dry spell. Okay. My scalp is so freaking itchy. My hair is dried out. My face is flaking because we're going through this recalibration in our energy, in our chakra system, in our vibration. And so, if you are on the side of normally being oily, then you will likely have an experience of dryness, and vice versa. But the reason why the itchiness is so important, because the itchiness is indicating healing. And I want you to continuously remind yourself of that. When you have an itch that you cannot scratch, which is definitely going to be the case this week, there's just those itchies that just cannot be scratched. It is a sign of healing. It's a sign of growth. It's a sign of evolution. As annoying as it may be, it is a sign that that particular area of your body, that energy chakra that connects to that area of the body, is going through an upgrade, going through let's call it a recalibration, a realignment. Now, we are going to continue to have this recalibration, realignment symptom throughout eclipse season, because again, eclipse season is kind of defragging our computer system, removing those old files that are no longer important and pertinent to our evolution in order to clear enough memory space out for the new downloads to come in. And when the energy and the frequency is kind of chaotic and we're at the mercy of the cosmos, there is a lot of things being removed from our energetic being, and there's a lot of things being added into it. And therefore, there is a lot of change, a lot of transformation taking place in our inner realms, in our chakra system, in the meridian channels of our body, in basically the conduit lines that allow the electricity from the higher realms of intellect to travel through us and go into Mother Earth, and then, vice versa. We are energetic conduits. So this is why we have to keep our bodies clean and as light as possible so that the energy doesn't get blocked and stuck and kind of create these particular points of discomfort in our physical form. But the itchiness, I want you to pay attention to your eyes. Your eyes are going to be super itchy. Your eyelids are going to have a certain itch to them. Your eyelashes are going to have a certain itch to them, because what we're seeing here in the physical realm is very displeasing. What we're seeing in the, let's call it spiritual realm or energetic realm, is very confusing. So we need to rub our eyes. We're trying to gain clarity. We're trying to focus in. Now, eyelashes, let's say, are a defense mechanism in our biological system in order to, protect debris, particles from getting in our eye. Well, when that the eyelash line on your eyelid starts to be itchy, it's contributing to the oils changing in our body, but B, there's a protection that we just don't have that prevents us from seeing the pain and the trauma and the torture taking place on this earth plane, and yet reminding ourselves of the spiritual and energetic realm and reasoning of why certain things have to happen on this earth plane in order for humanity to evolve. And so there's a lot of discomfort and conflict going on with what it is that we're seeing in both realms. And therefore, the whole eye issue, we have been seeing orbs. We have been seeing a bump up in the vibrancy of colors. That has been the buildup to this particular anchor point of this particular energy center in our physical bodies. But right now, we're just having a hard time accepting, seeing, absorbing what is happening on all different levels of existence. So I want to talk about the eyes for a second. That's the physical sensation that I think we're going to be experiencing. Now, I want to talk about how many of us are, you've heard me talk about now is the time. We're in this new karmic chapter where we have to step out and stand out and be seen and be heard and tap into our creator abilities. Well, that means that we as alchemists are changing our roles and responsibilities. No longer are we going to be absorbing the energy of the collective. And I think right now would be a great time to put those boundaries up to make sure that you're not taking on the energy of the collective. Instead, we are anchoring into a new energy that allows us to be the creator without having to take that energy on, make it work through our physical bodies, transmute it into something more manageable, more lighter, more brighter, more loving, and give it back to the collective. Now, there are still going to be some people, especially light workers here, we all have different tasks and chores, that are going to remain being that filter, if you will, for that collective energy. But we are the leaders here of New Earth. And there is a certain group of us that are kind of, I'm going to say, getting an advancement, if you will, in our job. More money, more problems. Biggie said it best. And you best believe that we are moving into a time where there is more responsibility on us awakened one, on us that have been alchemists, that have been transmuting those darker vibrations of the collective into something higher, where there is a group of us that will now be moving on to the creator part of what we need to start focusing on as far as building New Earth goes. Now, you will have a lot of people say, well, New Earth is already here. Yeah, it's a state of mind. You can tap into it whenever you want. But what we're trying to do now is actually anchor it into a physical form so that we can start like experiencing it from a 3D level to a 5D level. It needs to be brought into form. This is not new earth. New earth is just a concept that the conscious collective has the ability to focus in and pour into right now. It's not an actual physical construct. And that physical construct is still kind of going through the demolition process of deconstructing the old realm. We have Pluto in Capricorn energy, guys. This is like, not only are we just cleaning the debris up from all the damage and destruction that's been taking place since 2008 to the societal structures, but we still have a whole year to kind of really knock down the forms, the structures, the foundations that are keeping us held back and restricted and stuck in this pain and trauma timeline. And so the group of us that are now kind of, I'm going to say, advancing to a new job title, if you will, we now have to start putting forth our energy to create, to be the example of the change in which we want to see out in the world. And so we're going from absorber to observer to creator. Now, we always have to stay in observer mode to a certain extent, but taking other people's energy on, taking the collective's energy on, for many of us, will be a thing of our past experiences. We are moving into manipulating energy in a different way. We are moving into kind of designing, restructuring, recreating the realm and the reality that we have to get the collective to focus on in order for that timeline, that actual, let's call it futuristic vision, to actually take a form here in this earth plane. So it's very, very important. I thought that was interesting to kind of connect to the eyeballs, if you will. Okay, so the vibrating that's been going on. Yes, we're going through a recalibration, a realignment. The energies are a lot more potent, if you will, which means that there is a certain tremor, certain vibrating, certain I don't know how to explain it other than there's like this buzzing in your physical body, in the physical form. Now, the more energy we take on, the higher levels of energy that we take on, the physical body does need to adjust to. So it can feel very gross. It almost feels like your skin is crawling, if you will, and you just want to, crawl out of your skin suit until it kind of does its adjustments. Unfortunately, we can't do that. We have to be in it. We have to be grounded in it. We have to be present in it. We know how to handle it. We know how to speak to our bodies in such a way that allows them to, like the parts of us, every cell in our body, to understand that this is the job that we have to do, is sit in the discontentment, the uncomfortability, in order for us to transmute that energy in a better state where we are fueled and empowered by it instead of disabled and crippled by it. Now, I don't know about y'all, but especially when Mars on the 11th there was in that final critical degree of Libran energy, I had severe anxiety. And I know that we have the choice to call it anxiety or anticipation or excitement. This to me was anxiety. I tried to flip the label of it, but here's the thing. When you are sensitive, and I know you are, or else you wouldn't be here listening to all my rants and raves, you pick up on the energy of the collective. And it was a very anxious time for many. And so there was no relabeling it. There was no shaking it. All you could do was sit in it and hopefully transmute it. Now, that anxiety, that anticipation, that excitement led to very interrupted breath work, because of course you can't breathe when you're on the verge of having a panic attack. Now, our breath work is very important at this time. Many of us are shallow breathers. I've had a couple of people reach out and say that they've been in a state of hiccups all week. That is a true indicator, A, of the solar plexus going through its recalibration, and B, that there's more focus needed on actually structuring your breath work, your rhythm. Of course, the air that we breathe in is mana, it's chi, it's energy. And if we are not breathing properly, then, our biological system isn't receiving the oxygen in which it needs, but our spiritual system isn't as juiced up as we need to be to override some of these particular energies. So we are going to struggle with breath work. We are going to struggle with those particular energies. And again, trying to label them something more positive than, sitting in a state of anxiety, fear, panic, whatever the case may be. The energy fluctuations are going to continue because we're still in Libra season. We still have to balance those scales. We still have to find a sweet spot. And again, with Mars now kind of in his place of power, he's rearing to go. And we have to kind of pace ourselves and kind of block ourselves from taking impulsive action out into the world, because this is neither the time nor the place to take action willy-nilly. It is definitely not the time in eclipse season to further a new initiation, a new beginning, a new agenda that may or may not be divinely scripted for us in this next karmic path. So again, why we have to step back, act as the observer to see the hints and clues coming at us through this eclipse season to make sure that we are in alignment, not only with what it is that we feel we have to do for ourselves or we want to do, whether it's based out of ego or based out of a higher self. There's a greater, grander plan. Because some of the situations, circumstances have popped off in ways that we shouldn't necessarily be supporting them in at this particular point in the calendar, there's a rearranging of tasks and chores and roles and responsibilities, which may or may not have you continuing on the path that you think you're currently moving into. That's why we're at the mercy of the cosmos, of karma, if you will, through eclipse season. There's a lot of aches and pains taking place in our physical body, especially seeing as Pluto just went direct in Capricorn. Capricorn energy rules over the bones, the structure of our physical form. There's a major shift, a major transformation, not only happening in the structures and foundations of this earth plane, but within our physical body as we go through this recalibration, this realignment, so that we can start accepting higher vibrations and frequencies into our physical form without it absolutely burning out our central nervous system. So pay attention to where the aches and the pains and the discomfort is taking place. It's likely, could be an all body experience. Honestly, it sucks when it is an all body experience, but sometimes that's just, the jam that we have to kind of sit in. But for instance, like if you're feeling it in your neck or in your shoulders, ask yourself what kind of emotional or energetic weight and baggage you're carrying that doesn't belong to you. If you're having it in your jaw, why are you biting your tongue? Why are you hesitating to speak your truth? If you're having it in your wrists, in your elbows, why are you failing to take the minor actions that you could be taking and making in your physical realm to start aligning with the path in which you want to manifest? If you're having those aches and pains in your lower extremities, in your back, in your hips, in your groin, in your knees, in your ankles, that's all where fear is trapped. Where not trusting yourself, not trusting the greater, grander plan is concerned. We hold those hesitations in our lower extremities because we literally have to put one foot in front of the other in order to move away from what it is that we're moving away from and moving closer to what it is that we desire to move closer to. And when fear takes over, we get leg locked. We don't make any kind of movement. We just stand in a state of paralysis, and the energy gets backed up in our physical bodies, in our physical forms, and it really creates a lot of discomfort in our joints. I kind of talked about this already with my little rant about, the division, but in this final week of Libra season, let me just remind you that Libra season illuminates the divide so that we can work on unifying and merging that in Scorpio season. We're only a week away from Scorpio season. That's where we emerge out of this cocoon in which we've been sitting in as the butterfly, when we get to test out the wings for the first time. But the division is going to be amplified and intensified in order for us to realize the distance created in between the extremes, so that we can see where it is that we have to unify those pieces, whether they're within ourselves, within us and other people, in our relationship dynamics, us in the collective, could be very diverse in where it is that we're seeing the division. But at the end of the day, we have to see the division intensify in order for us to make an extra energy, extra effort to unify, to bring that division back to a state of wholeness. We have to operate from a state of wholeness. That's the only way that any of us are getting out of this particular matrix situation, is to unify. And so the division is going to become very extreme and likely be manifest in your physical body. Maybe the left side is stronger than the right side. Maybe the front of you is, a lot more comfortable than the back of you is. Maybe one leg is stronger than the other. Maybe, you're feeling aches and pains on one side of your body over the other. However it manifests, you're going to see the division, not only within yourself, within the relationship dynamics of the people in the world around you. And of course, we're going to observe this on the greater, grander stage. I want to talk about the third eye, because the third eye is going through a recalibration as well. That's why there's so much head pressure. We're living in like this euphoric, dreamlike state, if you will. And it's funny because some of us are so, I'm going to say, stuck in the observer mentality that we don't even have an emotional reaction anymore. We're just like, oh yeah, sure. Of course that's happening. That's great. Yep, perfect. While others of us are, again, being emotionally triggered and activated in a way that is continuing to fuel this particular dark agenda that, of course, we're trying to bring to an end, to bring to a close. But this euphoric state, this dreamlike state, is very kind of necessary in order for us to be kind of understanding where it is that we are leveling up. The 4D, let's talk about the 4D for a second. You know how when you move into a dream state, and again, if you're lucky enough to be sleeping these days, I, for one, didn't sleep for 2 days in a row this week. It was just unreal. But if you are lucky enough to be sleeping, I'm sure your sleeping patterns have changed, and I'm sure your dream state has changed. But anywho, what I wanted to point out here is, you know how in a dream state, anything is really possible? And we don't really question it. Like we wake up and we're like, man, I just had a dinner with a dinosaur last night. And then all of a sudden, Britney Spears came out of the closet and she got married to, a shark, and they had babies and it turned into the Jackson family. And then I was back in my grandmother's house and I was 5 years old, but I was taking care of my mother as if she was my child. Okay, now that sounds pretty freaking wackadoodle, but we open up our mouths, we open up our eyes out of that dream state, and we speak about it as if it was real, because in our dream state, it was real, it was happening, it very much was us, it very much was parts of our lives, of our experience, of our unconscious selves coming to our awareness, but we don't question it. Time doesn't really take place in a dream state. We don't question how a shark is even walking on earth on his tail without being in water. It's just a dream state where anything is possible. That's 4D. That is the blending of the 3D realm where we need logical, practical justification and scientific evidence in order for us to justify some of our experiences. This is what this earth realm currently is. We have the 5D that we're trying to get to. We're trying to get the collective into, because that's love and unity and peace and harmony, where time doesn't exist, where other dimensional realms such as the astral realm and the etheric realm, where they're just, doing their thing, where anything is possible. The 4D is the taste in our dream state on where it is that, evolutionary speaking, the spiritual realm of consciousness needs to get to. And so the dream state is going to be mirroring back a lot of the unconscious pain and trauma that we're currently tapping into on the collective's part because of some of the situations going on in the 3D, and therefore where it is that we have to move into our imagination, because again, our mind doesn't know whether or not we're actually experiencing something real or we're just making it up. It's still an experience that we're bringing to life in our own mental plane, in our own reality. That's where we move into creator mode. And we move into that imaginary realm and we create an imaginary world that is a lot better than the one that we're currently living in. And we give that all the time, energy, and focus every single time we're emotionally triggered by what's going on in the 3D, because where we put our time, energy, and attention is what grows, what comes to life, what we create. And that's the process that we all need to start practicing more and more and more so that we can break free of some of these particular constructs here in the 3D, and we can start, walking over the bridge into those other dimensions where everything is a lot more happy-go-lucky and anything is possible. Whatever it is that you give time and energy to is what is real to you. Now, that's not saying that we all want to, have a date with a shark, okay? I'm just using that as a very abstract type of example here. What I'm getting at is that we're too anchored into the logical, practical, scientific density of this 3D realm. That's where pain and trauma and suffering needs to be illuminated. That's what we're doing right now on this earth plane in order for us to break free from that construct, from that foundation and structure that at one time was very suitable for this earthly experience that we wanted to have, that we're no longer in alignment with. So therefore, we need to kind of close the door on it. So pay attention to your dream state. There's a lot of cryptic messages coming in. And again, even in your waking state, there's a lot of daydream visions being downloaded to you. These are the hints and clues that you have to be observing, especially as we're moving through this eclipse window. Again, just want to remind you, if you are confused as hell, congratulations, you're exactly where it is that you need to be, okay? Stay in that state of wonderment. Let's not call it confusion, because that sounds like you're below understanding the concepts in which you need to understand. We're not below anything here. We fully grasp what is going on. We're just having a hard time making sense of it because it's not in alignment with our soul energy. And so let's kind of take that confusion, let's turn it into wonderment. We're on an adventure here. What's going to happen next in this movie? Let's keep an air of excitement about us, even though we're watching, the climactic point of the movie that, isn't so fun to watch. Let's have an adventure, wonderment, exciting type of what's around the corner, what's going to happen next. Who is the real bad guy? Who is the real good guy? And again, these are just constructs that only exist on the earthly realm where duality and polarity are alive and well. Nothing that we are experiencing here on this earth plane exists in any other realm other than this one. So just remind yourself of that. Of course, there's going to be some, and I think we've been experiencing this, but let me just say, hunger versus nausea. Again, Libra concepts, the extremes of what's going on in our digestive realm. What I do want to say is that you are going to notice a major change in your bathroom habits, good, bad, or otherwise. I'm going to leave that up to you to kind of label that for your own particular experience. But there's a release that's needed. There's an evacuation that's needed. There's an ending and a closure that's needed. We've literally been holding on to shit, right? That's a lot of emotion. Hold on to that particular matter that we got to get out of our bodies, both figuratively, energetically speaking, and realistically. And so we are going to see those particular bathroom issues become illuminated. The swirling, the dizziness doesn't really help. The nausea, the hunger doesn't really help. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm in this elevator stomach drop situation pretty much since Wednesday. And I suspect that this is going to be a whole eclipse event sensation. Let me know, drop me a line in the comments. Let me know if you've had this elevator stomach dropping sensation. It's definitely not one of my favorites. But again, this is just highly indicative of the recalibration, the realignment going on in our physical body. So guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about and cover here today. Of course, I thank you so much for continuing to show up, not only for me, but for yourself. I thank you so much for the love, for the support that you continue to give my way. I hope that you know how appreciative I am for each and every single one of you to not only show up and tune in to all of the different videos, but to align with this collective objective to get us out of this earthly shit show and into a different state of existence. All of us are in this together. I know sometimes it can feel very, very alone in the world. I get it, but we are not alone. And my whole number one mission of this channel is to remind you that you are not crazy, that you are not alone, and that we literally are here together to build ourselves up in empowerment energy, to remind ourselves of the God source creator energy that each and every single one of us have within ourselves. And when we unify that energy, literally anything is possible. So, of course, I'm sending you so much love. I thank you for tuning in, and I hope eclipse season is kind to you. We'll talk to you soon.